Dear parents, teachers, and protectors of our children, I am Leland from the AtapumaWorld. Today we are going to talk about something very important, how to care for our children's emotional health. But before we begin, make sure you have the story of Fela the cat on hand, whether in video story, printed, or digital format. You will need your magical passport for this journey. Imagine that you are the captain of a ship called Life. That ship is your child's life, and you are holding the helm. Sometimes the sea is calm and everything flows smoothly. Other times the waters become rough and stronger emotions appear. This is exactly what happens to Fela. At the beginning, her world seems calm. She is organized, takes care of her appearance, and has a stable routine. However, when the teasing begins, when her classmates reject her, and when Nico starts distancing himself, her sea changes. Sadness, insecurity, and loneliness appear, like a storm she does not know how to navigate. As parents, teachers, and adults who are close to children, it is our responsibility to accompany them as they learn to manage what they feel. This is not something that happens overnight. Fela, for example, cannot resolve it on her own. She needs the guidance of her mother, who becomes the support that helps her regain her course. Every learning process needs clear guidance. Just as navigators used maps to find their way, children need to learn how to identify and understand what they are feeling. In this story, Fela begins building her own emotional map when she stops to look at herself, recognize herself, and say positive things to herself in front of the mirror. This moment is crucial. She goes from not understanding her pain to naming what she feels and discovering what she values about herself. We can do the same with children. Ask them how they feel, help them name their emotions, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and accompany them through that process. This gives them tools to better understand themselves. Emotional regulation works much like navigation. There are moments of calm and moments when intense emotions arise. Fela experienced both. She went from peace to conflict, and from conflict to rebuilding herself. The important thing is that with support, children learn how to face those storms. Fela achieves this when she recognizes her worth, discovers her talent for art, and stops defining herself by what others say. Little by little, she takes control of her own ship once again. Let us teach our children to move forward during both calm and difficult moments. When they face challenges, let us show them how to stay on course without losing themselves. Sharing our own experiences and the ways we have overcome difficult situations provides them with a clear reference point, a kind of emotional compass for their journey. This is clearly reflected in Fela's story. When the teasing begins, when her classmates reject her, and when Nico distances himself, she does not know how to manage what she is feeling. She isolates herself, loses motivation, and stops taking care of herself. She is in the middle of an emotional storm without the tools to sustain herself. At that moment, her mother appears. She does not minimize what Fela is experiencing. Instead, she listens and guides her. That support is essential. She teaches Fela to pause, look at herself, and recognize her value. This is where she begins to build her own emotional compass. In every process, there is something valuable to discover. In emotional development, that value is resilience, the ability to remain steady even when everything around us is moving. It is like an anchor that helps us stay grounded when emotions become intense. Fela develops that resilience when, standing in front of the mirror, she begins speaking words of value to herself. Her environment does not immediately change, but the way she sees herself does. That is the turning point. Later, when her talent for painting is recognized, Fela no longer depends on external approval the way she once did. She has strengthened herself from within. Even when Nico apologizes, she is no longer in the same emotional place. This shows us that children need support in order to learn how to face their own difficulties. When we, as adults, share, guide, and validate, we help them build internal tools that will serve them throughout their lives. Fela did not stop experiencing difficult situations, but she learned how to remain strong in the midst of them. And that, precisely, is resilience. Fostering resilience in children means helping them understand that what they experience, even when it hurts, can be transformed into learning. Fela's story allows us to approach this from a different perspective, not only through what she feels, but through what she does with those feelings. Fela does not stop facing difficult situations. The teasing continues, the rejection remains present, and her friend does not support her. However, there is a moment when something changes. She begins rebuilding herself from within. Not because her environment changes first, but because she begins to see herself differently. This is where we can work with children. At what moment does Fela begin to change? Not when others accept her, but when she recognizes herself. What was more important, that others valued her or that she discovered her talent? This allows children to reach a deeper understanding. True change comes from within. It is also important to help them identify their internal resources. Before focusing on what Fela lacked, let us stop and recognize everything she already had within her. Ask the child, before people congratulated her, did Fela already know how to paint? Reflection. Fela already had her talent, but she was not seeing it. Then connect it to the child. What things can you do that you sometimes do not value? Examples: drawing, listening, helping, running, imagining stories. Another key point is helping children examine how they interpret what others say. Fela was called vain or stupid, but those words did not define who she truly was. You can ask, is everything that other people say about you true? How can you know? Practical example. What others say. You're not good at this. What you can verify. I try hard. I have improved. I enjoy doing this. Finally, close with a clear and practical idea. Every child, like Fela, will experience moments when they do not fit in or when they doubt themselves. During those moments, rather than avoiding the difficulty, the goal is to help them pause, reflect, and choose how to respond. Final integration question. If you were Fela in that difficult moment, what would you do differently now that you know all of this? In my name and on behalf of all the members of the AtapumaWorld, thank you for joining us on this journey with Fela the cat. Let us continue caring for our children's emotional health, listening to them, validating what they feel, and helping them recognize their worth. If this capsule touched your heart, follow us for more content that inspires, supports, and strengthens families.